It's One Piece Day! It's One Piece Day! It's One Piece Day! We got a new chapter to read! It's One Piece Day! It's One Piece Day! What up? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the only YouTube channel on the internet. Today, we're gonna be chatting about chapter 1073 of One Piece. If you couldn't tell, I'm pretty excited to talk about this because this chapter is amazing. There is a lot to unpack here, a lot of juicy meat to nibble on, and I am ready for it, baby. Part of my soul is elated that we have a new chapter. The other part of my soul is falling into a pit of despair because we're on break next week again. God damn it. I don't want another break. I want 174, God. God damn you, Shonen Jump. But anyways, let's hop right into this because, oh boy, I have a lot of thoughts right now. So let's start off with the cover story. Vegapunk is winning an award of some kind for finding out how to create flowers that bloom in gunpowder. In the background, you have these two tanks firing flowers at each other. It's pretty funny. And in the bottom right corner, we've got Caesar, Judge, and Queen looking kind of annoyed / shocked / angry. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Is it maybe it's because they're jealous that Vegapunk is getting the award and they're not? I don't really know what's going on there. I'm not sure exactly what their expressions are meant to be in reaction to. Honestly, this entire cover story, like saga, has been kind of odd to me. It's been very pulpy. Like, I'm not sure how some of these things connect. Like, how does last week's connect to this? And like, it seems like we're kind of getting like glimpses into their time together. It's not necessarily one cohesive narrative. Maybe it will come together at some point, but like this at least doesn't seem to tie into the last cover story at all. But I am interested to see where this ends up because this is clearly stuff in the past and I'm wondering how Oda's gonna like weave that into what's going on currently, or if it's meant to be one of the more like supplemental cover stories that is kind of just more of an addition to the world rather than something that weaves directly back into the main narrative in any way. Anyway, the chapter picks up right where we left off last week with Lucci and Stussy sort of having this standoff here, and Kaku's completely passed out at this point. Lucci is saying that this is a bitter pill to swallow, and he immediately tries to attack her, and she hard diffs him with this dodge here of this paper arts heartbreak after image, which I'm interested in the paper arts part of this because I don't exactly know what her power is. I mean, I don't think anyone's totally nailed it yet. It's like either a demon or a bat or something, but like paper arts, I don't really know like how that would relate to her power in particular, because to me at least, paper arts doesn't relate to bats or demons in any way. And I don't know if it's just like the style of attack that she's doing, but I found that interesting. And then she literally beats him in one attack. She pulls out this lipstick that is made out of sea stone, which I don't think we've ever seen an object like this made out of sea stone. We've seen the handcuffs and like bars and stuff, but like lipstick it's an odd way to use sea stone. But she like presses it against his neck, and then this panel here where she like opens her mouth, she looks like a demon here. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that it's either like a demon model fruit or a bat model fruit, because I could see either of them. But this is actually kind of scary here, where she's like opening her mouth and then she clamps down on his neck and immediately beats him, doesn't kill him, I guess, puts him to sleep right then and there. Also, what Stussy says here at this point, right when she's defeated Lucci, is also interesting to me because she says, "I know how strong you boys are. Fighting you fair and square would have been stupid. Forgive me." And I think that's interesting because she does fight Lucci at least fair and square. I mean, he has the reveal here that she is his enemy, you know, he understands what's happening, and she still beats him in one attack. It doesn't matter that he wasn't like prepared for this fight. He starts the fight first. He's the one that attacks first, and she still beats him in one move. So like, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think she would have beaten him anyway. Like, I don't know that this is not a fair fight here. Brook and Zoro bear witness to this entire encounter, and they're kind of flabbergasted by what's going on. Zoro thinks it's just friendly fire, but then Stussy starts talking into one of the transponder snails, and we find out that she's actually working for Vegapunk. This is reinforced in just the next panel when Shaka says, "No doubt he was taken by surprise. Her loyalty to me was kept secret even after she spent 20 years as one of their agents." And to me, I really want to explore the ramifications of what could be possible based off of this particular reveal of Stussy being basically a double agent for Vegapunk and for the government. Usopp asks, "You had a mole in the intelligence branch?" And Shaka replies, "It wasn't our intention, but that's how it turned out." My initial response upon finding out that Stussy was a clone who was loyal to Vegapunk was to wonder if maybe there were like more clones planted throughout the world government that were loyal to Vegapunk this entire time. But Shaka kind of, shuts that down immediately. He's like, "This was not our plan. It turned out this way." I am curious to see how it ended up this way. How did the Stussy clone end up working for CP0 if it wasn't some kind of like a direct order from Vegapunk? This also gets me wondering, are all of the clones sort of loyal to Vegapunk? Do they have the same kind of respect that it's clear that this Stussy clone has for Vegapunk? And if that's the case, he might have a pretty formidable force at his beck and call. I mean, he is the highest order of command on the Seraphim, who are already, a pretty formidable group of people to have on your side. Or people, I don't really know exactly what to call them. They're also clones in some kind of way. And speaking of the Seraphim, they are still a problem at this point because Stussy can't override the orders that were given to the Seraphim to kind of destroy the entire lab back in last chapter. So Zoro and Brook step in to sort of defend the lab while we wait for the Vegapunks to arrive and override the orders that have been given. It's at this point that Brook and Zoro start to sort of put the pieces together. Zoro recognizes Jinbei's Seraphim here. Right after this, we see Vegapunk 02 Lilith again, and she's kind of escaping the lab after it's being blown apart, and she thinks she's in the clear. She says, "And I'm out." And then immediately, the Mihawk Seraphim sees her. But before she can give any kind of an order, this Mihawk Seraphim literally laser scopes her face and is about to, like, decapitate her, I guess. But Zoro jumps in and defends, and he can kind of tell, like he says, on closer inspection, "You're not the same. You actually have a spark of humanity. Still, what the hell are you?" The Mihawk Seraphim is kind of terrifying if you ask me. I mean, it literally has a fucking scope of an aim that can target someone. I'm wondering if this is like intentional. Are the Seraphim like equipped with like sci-fi, cyborg enhancements almost that take their original powers of their owners? Because this Seraphim specifically clearly has Mihawk's swordsmanship, but does it like enhance that skill with like cybernetic enhancements of some kind? And is this target scope here meant to be literally what the Seraphim is seeing? Maybe I'm overthinking, but it seems like perhaps this scope here was intentional to kind of hint at this sci-fi aspect to their powers. Anyway, after this encounter with the Mihawk Seraphim and Zoro, 03 Vegapunk shows up and is trying to give the command to the Seraphim to shut down, and the Jinbei Seraphim immediately targets him and is trying to blow him up, and it looks for a second like maybe he was blown up, but then you see that Sanji saved him. Anyway, so for a moment here, it looks like all is well. The Seraphim are calmed, the CP0 agents are down and bound, and it looks like everyone's ready to leave. Shaka's saying that they're gonna leave, Stussy should come with them, and then we cut to Luffy, who's looking for Bonnie and Vegapunk, and Vegapunk is missing. We see through narration that it says, "A truly unexpected development. Dr. Vegapunk's main Stella body has vanished." Yo, what? How? Why? What? Last we saw, Bonnie was about to touch Kuma's like memory paw or whatever. Vegapunk was still a little kid, and then we cut away and now they're gone? They're vanished? What happened there? The way I see it, there's only a couple of possibilities here. A, Bonnie already touched the paw or whatever, found out about Kuma's memories, and took Vegapunk away for some reason. I can't imagine what that would be. In my mind, I was imagining that once she saw the memories, she would be a little more sympathetic towards Dr. Vegapunk and what he did, but I don't know. Like, maybe she saw something that she didn't like, or maybe she had some kind of revelation and she needed to get Vegapunk out of there. I'm not entirely sure what would have happened there. I don't know if Bonnie is even responsible for this disappearance. Perhaps a third party came in and took away Vegapunk and Bonnie at the same time. I don't know. Personally, what I think probably happened is that a third party of some kind arrived and took both of them away, because we know that there were more people headed to the island at this point. They were saying, like, send every ship we have or something. Maybe someone got there ahead of time and took them away. I'm not sure. But I think that's probably the most likely outcome, because I can't imagine Bonnie just running off on her own with Vegapunk. I don't see any scenario where that is what she did. I could be wrong, but I personally am of the opinion that something happened to them off screen regarding a character that we haven't actually seen yet. Either way, it's a huge mystery, and I really want to know what happened here, because this is so out of nowhere to me. It felt like we were about to continue this plot line with the two of them exploring Kuma's memories in some kind of way, and instead, they're just gone, which is like one of the last things I was expecting to happen. Oda then does something else that I was not expecting in this chapter. We go back to Sphinx, Whitebeard's hometown. Marco's talking to some kids who are explaining this situation that occurred while he was gone with these Marines who came to Whitebeard's hometown looking for all of Whitebeard's treasure, hoping to kind of requisition it for themselves. Going so far as to say stuff like, remember, this place isn't government affiliated, so you have no legal rights here, which is just so fucked up. But because Marco's not there, these Marines think they can just bully around this village and basically get them to do whatever they say. But then the totally unexpected happens right when this rat-looking captain guy is about to shoot this old lady. Weevil shows up and beats all these guys up. All the Marines are terrified of Weevil, and they all run away, and they're talking about how he's the strength of a bona fide monster. They're terrified, and they leave. We cut back to the present, and Marco's just like, oh, I'm glad everyone's all right. I'm glad Weevil was here to help you all. But then Miss Buckin is there, and she's like, well, what do you think happened after all this went down? What do you think happened after all the soldiers ran away? Of course, they sent in someone to take care of Weevil, and then it turns out that the person they sent in was Admiral Ryokyugu. I'm a fan of this development because Ryokyugu is a character that was hinted at so much from basically everything from post-time skip moving forward, and then that one time he shows up, he doesn't really do a whole lot. He kind of shows up, gets his ass kicked, and then leaves. So it's good development in my eyes that he's able to take down a warlord on his own, because otherwise he would have been massively overhyped. But there's more to discuss regarding Miss Buckin here. For one, she says, and while you're at it, fork over Newgate's inheritance too. She says that to Marco, and then you get this little panel here where it's saying, former member of the Rocks Pirates, self-proclaimed scientist, Mads resident freeloader, Miss Buckin, Buckingham Stussy. And I have some thoughts about the truth regarding her real quick. There's a couple of key things that I want to discuss within this. For one, it says former member of the Rocks Pirates. We already knew that. That's not important. But then it says self-proclaimed scientist. And I'm wondering about that because self-proclaimed is an important addition here. She's not just scientist. It says self-proclaimed scientist. I'm wondering if perhaps it also says Mads resident freeloader, which makes me wonder, like, was she trying to kind of insert herself into Mads and like they were like, you're not smart enough for this, you're not smart enough for our group, you don't know what you're doing? What if Weevil is a clone that she tried to create using Whitebeard's DNA and it just like didn't work exactly like she wanted it to, which is why Weevil doesn't look exactly like Whitebeard. It looks like maybe there's something a little bit wrong with Weevil. He's clearly got not complete development, perhaps. And this would also add to this line of dialogue here where she's demanding that she gets Newgate's inheritance. What if she's just trying to kind of like swindle her way into some treasure, and this entire time she was kind of trying to wiggle her way into like positions of power and whatnot? Because for her to be called a freeloader, to me, indicates that perhaps she's not totally on the up and up. Maybe she is using people for certain things and kind of trying to do like the buggy route of things where she swindles her way through life instead of, you know, actually just earning things, which is maybe why she's trying to get Newgate's inheritance here. Although I do think that she genuinely cares about Weevil. I mean, it's just clear in this little flashback panel here where she's crying over Weevil being taken away, and then she's still crying, saying, oh, he's sent to prison for protecting his father's village. It's tragic. Don't you think our boy has a noble soul? And Marco's clearly doubtful. He says, well, I appreciate you guys protecting this place at least. And then she snaps at him and says, Marco, I can hear it in your tone. You still doubt he's Whitebeard's. Well, I know someone who can prove it. Dr. Vegapunk. I think this will probably turn into a gag of some kind where they eventually do meet up with Vegapunk and she's asking him to prove that Weevil is Whitebeard's son, and he's just like, no, that's just a shitty clone. Like, I don't know for certain if that's what's gonna happen, but perhaps that's something that would happen. I also think that her relationship with Vegapunk is going to be interesting, considering that there is a clone of herself like that is obedient to Dr. Vegapunk. That's gotta be a weird dichotomy, or I guess dynamic, I should say, that the three of them have, or perhaps she doesn't even know there's a clone of herself. I don't know for certain if she even knows that, but on the chance that she does, like maybe she gave her DNA to Mads to create a clone after her own failed. I don't, like, there's a lot of unknowns here, but I could see this being a type of deal where Vegapunk does not like her because she is referenced as being a Mads resident freeloader. Maybe he just like doesn't like her, thinks she's annoying or something, and like immediately gets rid of any notion that she actually had a son with Whitebeard. But again, maybe I'm overthinking it. This is also the point in the chapter where we're informed that we're gonna be on break next week. Son of a bitch! What's crazy is that this chapter is already packed full of a lot of stuff with Vegapunk's disappearance, and we go back to Whitebeard's village, we see Marco, a lot of really interesting developments here, and then the last page is the craziest page in the chapter because we cut to world government ships that and a marine ship that are sailing to Egghead Island right now. Kizaru is talking to someone and he's bringing food to this mysterious figure and he's asking, so, have you ever met Dr. Vegapunk before? And then we cut and it's one of the 5 elders. And he says, once a long time ago, I think what's happening now is truly such a shame. And we finally find out his name. It says the highest authority in the world, one of the 5 elders, Saint J. Garcia Saturn. Ooh, baby, there's a lot of juicy stuff there. Before I dive into his name and everything, I want to unpack this interaction that he's having with Kizaru here. Kizaru is asking if he's ever met Vegapunk before, which I would assume is like an automatic yes, considering the threat that Vegapunk poses to the world government and the amount of benefits that he has also provided to the world government with his technological advancements. I would think that the 5 elders would have more of a relationship with him, but this guy is saying, Saturn here is saying that they've only met once and that he thinks what's happening now is truly a shame. I imagine that their interaction, however long ago, was probably not all that friendly, considering Vegapunk was basically forced to work for the world government. He was arrested for the kind of experiments that he was doing. I'm assuming there was some kind of coercion or threatening that happened to Vegapunk, and if the 5 elders were included in that conversation, I imagine that did not go super amiably. And it beggars the question, why is he coming now with all these ships to Egghead Island? Why is it now so important that one of the 5 elders would personally arrive on Egghead Island to deal with this entire development? Like, this is such a step up from what I was assuming was going to happen regarding the world government's involvement with Vegapunk, because if they've only met once, clearly he wasn't important enough, Vegapunk wasn't important enough for the elders to interact with him all that much. But now that he's potentially running away, this elder is literally personally coming to the island. And I just have so many questions about the elders. Are they personally powerful? Do they have like their own strength within them? Or are they more of just a bureaucratic figurehead for the world government? Or are they actually really strong? I don't genuinely know. I have no theories to back that up, any kind of ideas that I would present regarding the elders. I do think that maybe they have powers of some kind, but I don't really know why I feel that way. It's just sort of the presence they have, but also like, what would they realistically be able to do? Like, at this point in the story, narratively, as villains, if they're actually super strong. I saw people on Twitter saying shit like, oh, they're Yonko level, which I don't buy. I don't buy that they're that strong, because that is just adding another tier of strength that I don't know we necessarily need at this point in the story. But it seems like maybe they have some kind of power, but also they're not like as jacked as some of the old men that are strong like Rayleigh or Whitebeard or whatever. Like, this guy clearly isn't like, you know, some kind of bodybuilder of any kind, and like I obviously that's not always a moniker of strength, but it doesn't seem like he's got any kind of, you know, packing power of any kind, but I think it would be odd if they were just bureaucratic figureheads. But also there's the existence of him. I'm overthinking it way too much now. I genuinely don't know what to make of this. I do think it's interesting that for me the biggest key takeaway from this is that he is personally going to oversee the, I guess, recapture of Vegapunk, or killing Vegapunk. They were gonna kill him. This is so interesting to me. Like, why is he personally now coming? Like, what is incentivizing him apart from wanting to kill Vegapunk? Like, I just don't understand the ramifications that would need a Five Elders involvement at this point. Especially since they barely interacted with him based off of this line of dialogue here. Like, I'm so curious. Now, the other big thing here that I want to discuss is that Saturn is part of his name, and I want to make a whole video regarding sort of the space themes that are used here, like within our solar system, all the themes that are being brought into the story, because there's a ton of them. Luffy represents the sun, Blackbeard represents the moon, we have the 3 ancient weapons, and they all have, you know, planets they're associated with. Now, I'm wondering, and obviously there's more space imagery, you know, celestial dragons, Lunarians, all sorts of stuff. But I'm wondering if each of the 5 elders is going to have a planet of some kind attached to their name, because this guy is Saturn. I'm stupid, so I can't think of every single planet right now. I would lose on Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? Hold on, let me use Google. So let me think real quick. Of the planet names that we've already used, we have Uranus as one of the ancient weapons. We have Pluton, so that's Pluto, I'm assuming. And then there's Poseidon. Now, obviously, only 2 of those are associated with planets. But say that we wanted to associate Poseidon with, like, Earth, perhaps. Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, and Mercury. If I'm right, if this speculation that I'm having here is correct, each of the 5 elders would be associated with, like, one of the planets, which honestly, I'm wondering, like, this is a totally wild and out there theory. This is probably not going to happen, but because of the name association of planets with the ancient weapons, what if the 5 elders each have, like, world-ending powers of some kind? Then that's like the continuing that theme of, like, planet names being destructionary forces or something. That's a wild and wacky out there theory, but maybe if I'm swinging for the fences, like, maybe that's a guess of something that could potentially happen. I doubt it, but you know, it's One Piece. You never know. I really do want to make an entire video talking about all the thematic elements that go into sort of solar system and space and stuff. I'm gonna save most of my thoughts for that, but for the most part, I really think that this 5th elder showing up here has enormous implications for this story and for what Vegapunk might already know based off of that, the Void Century and everything he's learned about the civilization that was there. If perhaps the 5 elders know about the extent of his knowledge, because we don't even know everything that Vegapunk knows, but if they are aware of the extent of his knowledge, maybe that's why the 5th elder is coming down to personally oversee Vegapunk's death. This gets me so hyped because now there are so many players within the game in this arc that could reveal huge mysteries to us. They could give us a lot of information about what is going on in the One Piece world and a lot about the history of the One Piece world. There are so many huge players here. They're all knowledgeable people. I mean, we have Kuma, who's clearly lived a life that is packed full of secrets and mysteries that, when unveiled, might give us a lot of information. We have one of the 5 elders, which pretty much anytime the 5 elders show up, we learn something important. Like, almost every single time that they are in the story, it doesn't matter if they're directly the ones revealing the information, we usually get something really important revealed to us, so this gets me incredibly excited. We also obviously have Vegapunk, who clearly has a lot of knowledge about stuff, so there are just so many great minds coming to a head here, and I have this tingly feeling in my stomach that we're gonna get something huge, and like, maybe not in like the next couple of chapters, but like in this arc, as we wrap this arc up, however long that takes, we're gonna get something. I know we're gonna get something just wild and crazy, and I am ready for it, dude. I'm fucking ready for it. I was trying to remember when the last time the five elders were really in this story. I know it's not been that long, but really the last big appearance they had was when they were revealing the information about the Gum Gum fruit, when we were learning about its awakening and Nico the sun god and everything. So I am so excited by their appearance, because almost every single time, dude, I seriously, almost every single time that they're in this story, something crazy happens. I mean, before Wano, the last time they had been in the story was when we found out about Im. And then during Wano, they just like occasionally showed up. And when they did, it was like progressing the narrative in a way, like revealing information that real time impacted what was happening in Wano. Dude, I know it's probably not going to happen. But if next chapter, if we could have more of this conversation here with Saturn, I would be super happy. I would be over the moon. I get it, over the moon, whatever, doesn't matter. Anyways, guys, expect some more videos regarding some of the topics that I touched on within this chapter soon, because I want to flesh some of them out, and if I tried to combine all of my thoughts into this one video, it would be so long. It would not be something digestible. So, expect those soon, but for now, guys, wow, what a chapter. What a chapter. I'm so sad that we're having another break this next week, because these past two chapters have been phenomenal. They've been so good. Every chapter in Egghead Island has been fantastic, and I have no doubt that the next one is gonna be a banger too. God damn you, Shonen Jump. God damn you. I want more. But until then, guys, I will see you in the next video. I hope you're happy and healthy. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you guys then. Bye-bye.